Should get different T-shirts next time, so we change T-shirts every time for it.
Just swap shirts.
Yeah.
I can't, dude. There's no way of fitting that thing.
Cut.
Come to you live with a schmedium.
I'm the intro guy. That's the benefit, is I just start it when I want to.
We have a new guest on the podcast. Coach Schmedium is here.
Coach Medium. What's up, Fit Society? Welcome to the Fit Society Better Together podcast. Here's episode wow, the premiere podcast of whatever we talk about. We're here with episode 4. Topic today, motivation. I'm sitting here with MJ and Cassidy, and we would like to thank our sponsors, Zebra Pens and Yeti Mics. And that's it. That's all we got today.
They said the check's in the mail.
Yeah. Yep, it's on its way.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Putting in my 2-week notice.
Me too.
I'm gonna hang on for a little bit longer. Make sure
It's fair.
make sure it's a for sure thing.
It's fair.
Sissy.
All right. So our topic today is motivation. I'm just gonna kick it off with my thought on motivation because that's, I guess. Yeah, you guys already know the format. 3 thoughts, 2 myths, 1 question, and an action. So if you didn't remember the format, there you go. That's your reminder. Here's my thoughts on motivation. I actually tend to think motivation is overrated a decent amount. I think motivation can be super beneficial for you. I think if you have it, you definitely should leverage it. It's a great leverager. It can really drive a lot of change, but it's fleeting. I think it's extremely fleeting. It's extremely short-sighted to rely on just motivation. And I think a lot of people need to move more towards discipline. Excellent quote by Jocko Willink, discipline equals freedom. And basically all that means is that a lot of people think of discipline and they think it's like you have to do this and you have to do that. And everybody's going to control your life and you're a prisoner to that discipline. But in reality, discipline basically creates structure and allows you to have more time and more energy to do more things, which equals freedom. So like I said, motivation isn't bad. I just think it could be slightly overrated. But I definitely think you should leverage it. And we'll get into some myths about it as well and how to use it and how to figure out what could motivate you later. But that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I mean, motivation to me, like you said, is fleeting. And, when you do find your motivation to do whatever you're going to do, whatever action it is, whether it's working out, saving more money, again, I think you need to have those as your foundation to your journey, to whatever you choose to do. But it's like you said, I think it's fleeting. There are times when I will see something that motivates me, whether it's a video, maybe it's an old picture of the way I used to look, and go, wow, I really want to get back to being in shape again. But again, when I'm...
Hey, I think you look great.
Why, thanks, buddy. 6 weeks in, that motivation starts to wane when you're tired and, you want to go and... instead of going and working out, you want to go grab a burger and some beers, So again, that's the motivation kind of goes away after a while. It's the discipline that you create with that motivation that really makes the difference. So, yeah.
My thought with respect to motivation echoes both of yours. I think the only setup I'll use for it is I think to be demotivated is far more common than not. I think most people live in a space most of the time unmotivated. Is it demotivated or unmotivated? Guys, we're just gym people, okay? Yeah. So most people, let me back up.
Can we get a person to just like look things up?
Yes, we need I thought that was the guy in the back.
Yeah, like Joe Rogan's got one.
Yeah, we need Joe Rogan's guy.
This is pretty much the Joe Rogan podcast.
Right, but most for sure exist in a place, I would imagine, that lacks motivation. Okay, I think that's what we have to understand, that it's completely normal and expected, because human nature is we're all about getting the most in life with the least amount of effort and work. Like, we're programmed that way.
Yes.
Like, that shit's in the marrow of our bones. That's in our DNA.
Right.
Right? And so I think first, my first thought on this is you have to have a healthy appreciation for that. And understand that whatever it is in life that you're trying to accomplish, physically, financially, relationally, etc., our default and set point is from a place of lack of motivation. And so I do think, Corey, that motivation does have a place. And it's kind of like wind and the law of the big mo. John Maxwell wrote a book called 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and he talks about the law of momentum. And it works for you or against you. It's working. Is it for you or against? Momentum is very similar to that, I think.
Sure.
And so if you have it, it can work wonders for you. And if you don't, you can stay exactly where you're at for a really long time. So that's why I think in the short term, motivation is very powerful.
Yes.
I think it's a very powerful thing in spots and in places and serves a benefit. But like both of you said, I think the long game, when it comes to accomplishing something, and that's really the tie-in with motivation, is like, I want to do something. Am I going to be motivated to do it? The long game is where discipline comes in.
Yeah,
It's and discipline to me, by definition, is giving up what I want now for what I want most. I think that's the most simple,
Right.
palatable way to understand what discipline is. And incidentally enough, it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I think we'll get to it in our myths. Maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, but
it's chicken.
Is it always the chicken?
It's the chicken.
Yeah.
That was first. Pull up some documents on that.
is what do I need motivation to enact discipline? Do I need discipline to enact motivation?
Right.
That's the $1 million question. But I can tell you this, that at least in the fitness space, and gosh, it's really, as I'm thinking out loud right now, it's really in any space, in any capacity, is when you have a why that is bigger than your why not or why I wouldn't, then and only then can I and will I move from a place of sedentation or not doing anything to one of activity.
Right.
I know that for sure, and I may even be jumping ahead to our what do we do from here. But
Right.
Yeah.
but when we talk about motivation, that's my thought. Is it serves a purpose in the short term, discipline wins in the long game, and we all need to have a healthy appreciation that we just are not wired to run around all day, rah rah shish kebab.
Yeah.
And if we're not, what are we going to do about it? So.
I kind of think it's like it's kind of like building a fire when you're a kid. Like, you go camping, you gather up like all the dry pine needles, and then when you light those on fire, that's like the motivation. It's like quick,
Yeah.
like now we're heating up. And the discipline would be like building the actual like the kindling and the logs over top, like that long term sustained burn. Like, you like pine needles on fire all day, be cold in 5 minutes. You gotta have that big base. So I think it sets you up. Definitely, it can definitely set you up to make lasting impact. But
And I think, and again, maybe going a little bit too fast, but, different people are built differently,
For sure.
People are motivated by different things, so, when I say that motivation can be fleeting, your why probably is probably stronger, I think, for some people, at the end of the game. So you have a motivation to do something, but your why is going to keep you going much more than just that initial inertia of that motivation, and that's like when you said that, if your why is stronger than your why not or why shouldn't I, that's what I think is the I guess the genesis is from the motivation to find that why. So to me,
I call that going. I'll do this with clients sometimes, or even myself sometimes. Is going 5 whys deep. So like if I'm sitting across somebody and they're like, I want to sign up for the gym. You're like, why? They're like, well, I want to be healthier. Why?
Yeah.
Well, I want to lose weight. Why? Well, I want to look better. Why? Well, because my daughter sees that I'm uncomfortable when pool season in Arizona rolls around. And I don't want her, I don't want her to see that side of me. Okay, now we're getting to the real why, which is kind of what, a lot of people, I think, use motivation as. I want to make $100,000 a year. That's my motivation.
Yeah.
You're like, why?
Yeah.
The other thing with the fleetingness of it is I think one could make a case that motivation will get you there and discipline will keep you there.
Yeah.
And discipline, going back to the why, your why being that big thing. If you don't have that, again, we're programmed to go back to our set point. So what's the alternative if you don't have a why?
Right.
Right? And more specifically, an emotional tie-in to that why. That's why
Right.
Corey's going 5 whys deep, right? Because on a rational level, I know I need to lose weight. Okay? On a rational level, I know I need to put more money in my bank account than I take out. On a rational level, I know I need to treat my girlfriend or wife with this amount of respect and honor her in this way. But I need to really have an emotional tie to my heart to get it to my feet, to make it a habit, so that way I have the discipline to keep me there.
Right.
Right? Because
Yeah.
every bone in my body's taking me back
Yep.
to my set point.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something to consider.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Let's jump into some myths. 2 myths about motivation. We'll start with the first one. Myth alert. Wah, 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 wah. We really need to get a sound guy in here.
That was fireworks followed by
Laser beams and
Vuvuzela horns.
oh my gosh, I forgot.
Do you remember
about
those?
Yes,
In the
from
World Cup?
FIFA, yeah.
Do you know-
Oh, God.
They're
Shit.
vuvuzelas.
I
So
hated those.
I was like a 7th grader when that was happening. So you could just imagine the junior high that I went to. Those poor teachers. How many of those things did they freaking take from kids? Gosh, we're such little assholes. All right, myth number 1: motivation. You will always have it. False.
Negative.
Or we could even say you should always have it.
Yeah,
Because
there you go.
just-
Good one.
right? Like everybody's like, you should
be
always
motivated.
have this, and is it realistic?
No.
You know, so if it's not realistic, is it fair? And that's, I think, why it hits our myth board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I'm gonna tie it back to fitness because, that's what we
do,
We do a
dog.
lot of that. But I think a lot of people look at really, really fit people and they're like, "Gosh, man, they just must be so motivated to work out all the time." And I think if you were to peel back the curtains, there a lot of mornings when those people wake up. And I'm going to give props to my wife. My wife works out at 5 a.m. every day.
But
That
you
is
can
just
alien.
oh my gosh.
I hear we have people at our gym that
Yes. If you're
guys
a
are
5 a.m.er,
gaggers.
even if
Whack
you're a
job.
7 p.m.er, you guys are freaking weird. Weird. I applaud the shit out of you, but you are weird. But I think a lot of people wake up and, dude, I mean, the pillow's nice and comfy, the blanket's warm, you're tucked in there, it's cold in your room, you don't want to, it's so easy to just snooze, roll back over. And I think a lot of people, they wake up and they're like, dude, I do not want to do this. But I think the way they get themselves there is they don't even allow that to be a conversation. It's like, I'm going to wake up and I'm not even going to be like, do I really want to go work out? Put that out of my head.
Right.
I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to get up and start going.
I'm just going to do.
Yeah, I'm just going to show up.
Now it's a habit.
Right.
Now it's a discipline
Yeah.
that I own that I'm going to do.
Yeah, because I will tell you
Yeah.
the amount of times that I've seen somebody drive to the gym at 4:45 in the morning and show up to my 5 a.m. class and then be like, you know what? I actually don't want to do this. Is
Yeah.
0.
Yep.
This topic is one of those topics that we could just go down so many rabbit trails, because motivation ties into the discipline, and the discipline ties into the habits, and it's all kind of one in and of itself. But one thing that should be taken from this, Corey, like you talk about the 5 a.m.ers, like your wife Lauren goes in and does that, it's, you go, how do you get there? Where did that come from? And ultimately, if you reverse engineer it back without going too far into the actionable, it's somebody, she sat back and she thought about it. She goes, I need to prioritize fitness, right? I need to work out. So she thought about it. That was step 1. Step 2 was she then talked about it. Hey, Corey, I think I'm going to work out at 5 a.m. That's going to be my jam, right? And then step 3 was she showed up for the first 5 a.m. workout, right? So the thought became a word, the word became an action. And we talked about in the last podcast, for those of you guys that tuned in, managing the 2 variables of consistency and intensity and which one's greater priority and when and how. And we said, listen, consistency trumps intensity. So in that same spirit, after you act a certain way over a certain period of time, those actions then turn into habits, right? Those habits lead to our character, and our character ultimately leads to our destiny in fitness, in life, etc. So this topic, motivation, circles back and forth between discipline and habits and what am I going to do for what do I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And they're kind of one and the same.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, so myth number 1, you'll always have it. Wrong.
Just
You will not always have it.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen for you. I'm sorry. Myth number 2, you need to be motivated before you take action. Or in other words, action is not going to happen unless motivation precedes that. Give me your thoughts on that.
I will say that motivation could just be an idea. So that, and I don't, like if I want to, I don't know, build a garden.
Do you build a garden?
Yeah.
Or do you
Sure.
plant a garden?
Well, you have to,
Make a garden.
sure.
Grow a garden?
Grow
If
a
there's
garden.
any gardeners out there, could you email us?
Can you
and tell
clarify that?
us?
So if I'm going to create a garden
Okay, I like that.
Oh, no,
of
you're
some
God.
sort, yes, I
I
am.
like that.
So again, it's a thought. So what's motivating me? I don't know. Maybe because I want a fresh fresh basil or whatever. So that's so nice. So
Love fresh basil.
what is my motivation? So I think that motivation is a genesis of action, but you don't always have to have it for every action. So again, it could be built on the discipline or the habits that you've created with that initial motivating factor. So yeah, so I do think that it's partially a thought that you have, and then it's followed by an action. So it could be both.
Could be both.
Yeah.
I think going back to like that 5 a.m. example, absolutely motivation could lead you to start going to the 5 a.m. class, but on the vice versa, you just deciding like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to show up for at least one day.
Right.
The action might then motivate you. So you just chose like, whatever, I'm not motivated. I don't want to do this, but you show up at 5 a.m. and then you
Right.
get done with that class at 5 a.m. and you're like, okay, like I
feel better.
freaking did
Yeah.
this. I feel better. I moved.
It's over.
I feel good. And then that starts fueling your fire. And that becomes your motivation is like, dude, I know if I just show up to that 5 a.m. class and deal with Rachel's BS and just listen to her tell me what to do, I'm going to feel so much better at 6 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
I think going back to the VOPA idea that we outlined in our last podcast on an actionable item of how to get fit. Create a vision for fitness for you, identify some objectives, create a process, and then what's your accountability look like? In the spirit of that VOPA exercise, which I hope some people have gone through now a week later, when you look at P in process, which is how I'm going to get it done, right? I don't think anybody says or puts in their strategy, I'm going to be motivated. That's how I'm going to do this. And I would submit that if you are doing that as part of your process, you're setting yourself up for failure. So you got to reverse engineer your process. Going back to, motivation ties into discipline, ties into habits. In your process, you're far better served to identify a goal, have a vision for it, and then put processes in place that are going to help accomplish that goal, whether you want to or not. And that's really what motivation is. Motivation equals I want to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Lack of motivation, I don't want to. Going back to what's the definition, right, of discipline, giving up what I want now for what I want most. So when you identify what you want most, okay, and that really means something to you, that may be a form of building that intrinsic motivation, that motivation inside of you, right? There's intrinsic and extrinsic, outside and inside, to be able to put you on the path of where you want to go. So if you can understand that, you can reverse engineer your process to be more discipline driven, to be more habit driven, etc. And then, hey, just know that if you're lucky, you're going to get some fleeting moments, like you said, of like, dude, this is working. Like when you start saving a little bit and you start putting a little money, you're like, okay, that's working. That's motivation or gas on my fire. Same thing with fitness. I lost my first 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever. You know what? I can move on. I'm not pain free, but this doesn't hurt nearly as bad as it used to. Right. These are these little flashes of motivation, and it's kind of like you're kind of playing with the house's money. You don't expect it, but when you get it,
oh man,
ride it, right? Like pour gas on that fire.
Totally,
for sure.
Totally agree.
And have a healthy appreciation. Going back to, is this a topic on motivation or discipline? Have a healthy appreciation for discipline. You said, Corey, discipline equals freedom. It's a paradox, right? You're like, wait a minute, how can I become more disciplined? How can by me being more disciplined give me more freedom? Doesn't that mean I have to do more things? And no, that's not how it works. But if you have what I said, a healthy appreciation, you can actually look at discipline as not a dirty word.
Yeah.
Like you can actually delight in discipline. Who would have thought? Because you know what you get at the end of it, because your why that you established, that you had an emotional tie into, meant so much to you. You put all this together in a soup, right, in a little jambalaya, and you throw that into Vopa, you're getting somewhere.
You're getting somewhere.
Getting hungry.
I like that, exactly. I am getting hungry.
Let's, okay, so say I'm somebody, I want to capitalize on these fleeting moments. I want to find how to create these fleeting moments per se. So the question would be, what motivates you? Mm-hmm. So we're asking you, the listener, now, what motivates you? And maybe you guys can kick in a thought on how to find that or what they should do from this point on.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what it is, right? So most people that go to a gym are generally there to, I would say, and I may be off, you've been in this business a little longer than I have, but I think most people go there to lose weight. It's a thing that, our society believes in and breeds, that if you are in better shape, you are looked at as a better person, and so, and people feel more confident, whatever it is. So, there's different things. If it's to save money, maybe it's a different motivating factor. You're going to buy a house, or you need financial freedom for security because maybe you didn't have that when you're younger. So I think it all depends on what it is. What is the goal that you're going after? That's going to drive what motivates you to get there, I think.
Which I think ties back into asking yourself the why.
Yeah.
Like, why am I even attempting to do this thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you come out of that exercise, if you will, so if you ask yourself the question, I'm a listener at home, I ask myself, what motivates me? And I rattle off maybe 2 or 3 things. But when I really think about those 2 or 3 things, I don't get excited about them.
Right.
And I don't really have
You're
an emotional
You're conditioned to feel that
tie
way.
to it. You're not going to be very motivated to accomplish that goal.
Right.
You're just not.
I mean, think about it. Like, it's people that you're growing up. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to get married, and then you're supposed to buy a house, and then you're supposed to have kids. Well, what if you don't follow that path? Then
you're
again, yeah, you're good. You
failed.
You clearly failed.
You have failed. Next week's podcast is going to be on you as a failure.
You're un-American. But again, you have to have that what fuels that fire, right? What makes you willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to a gym? So what does it? So if you look back and you think about, well, I got to do this for my kids, or I have to do this for this or that. If it doesn't burn in deep, then like MJ said, it's not going to be there long.
Yeah,
it will not be there long.
Nope.
And you're better served just going back to the drawing board, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you just are. You're better served to go back to the drawing board, and you got to ask yourself some questions. Who am I? What do I want? Who am I doing it with? And find something in any of those capacities we were outlining, whether it was fitness or you were talking about most people want to come into the gym to lose weight. You're absolutely right. The why, 5 whys deep, Corey. If you can't get 5 whys deep in it, you need to have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
You just do.
Gotta figure it out.
Because even if, here's the other thing, Cass, is not only, you are correct that most people, at least in my experience, that come to a gym want to lose weight. They want to look good, feel good, but most of it's a weight loss goal. The reality is our country and society has never been more sick, has never been been more overweight, obesity, chronic disease. These things are prevalent. They are real. But you got to ask yourself, and using this as an example, 5 whys deep. Why is this important to me?
Yeah.
And then you have to have that emotional tie. And we did a if we're using fitness, for example, we did the podcast on community. What's the benefit of it? Is, to help with motivation in it is I can tell you this, surround yourself with like-minded people.
Ooh, yeah.
That struggle with the same struggles you got, that put their pants on the same freaking way,
Right.
that have a common goal of to realizing their best self. That could potentially be some of these insulating factors you can put around yourself to help increase the odds of you continuing to stay motivated,
Right.
etc. But
Those people can motivate you.
yeah,
And
and in that tangent where I was going with the motivation and the why is let's say you even were motivated short term. If I were to look at our membership or just 10 random people at Starbucks and say, how many of you guys have lost 20 pounds before? Hands would just go up. But if I said, how many of you guys kept it off? It would just fucking drop like flies, right? And you go, what's going to keep that 20 off? Being motivated all the time, or having the discipline and the thoughts and going through the thinking about it, talking about it, walking it out, making it a habit, prioritizing consistency in my process, and then holding that to account.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes all the difference in the world.
And I would imagine, here's the other thing, guys, like some people may be like, wow, you guys are freaking genius. I never even thought of this stuff. Well, here's the deal. If this is basic type stuff, maybe, just maybe, we ought to, all of us, have a better acknowledgement and appreciation for the basics, and not get bored with these basic things.
Master the basics.
Yeah. Can't get bored with the basics. We understand this stuff works. If you want something bad enough, go put those things in place and have the discipline to hold yourself to account to it. And you'll realize it more often than not if you do.
Yeah.
If you don't, and you just lean into the motivation, we're gonna at best get there.
Yeah.
And we'll leave there just as fast as we got there because we can't
Mostly,
rely
yeah.
on it. I don't think we can.
No. I don't think we can either.
Let's give the people a go, an action step. We'll wrap it up.
I think it's really, finding, what you want right now. So, if you look at your life, wonder, and if you take a picture of yourself and say, all right, cool, what do I want in my life? Establish that first, because what are areas that you are lacking? Are you lacking in funds? Well, okay.
Biceps.
Yeah, I am lacking in those.
Me. I was talking about me.
No, I definitely am. But, so that's where I think you just start. What is lacking in my life right now? And then you got to find your whys. The motivation will come from that. So that's where I think we kick it off with.
Yeah, love it.
I think you can continue with a go. Mm-hmm. I think you can naturally do an extension of the VOPA that we talked about last week with fitness. You can do that with your life.
Yeah.
Okay. What's my vision for my life? What are the objectives I want to accomplish in my life? What's my process and accountability for that? And then the other thing, a good tool that we use internally for evaluation of ourselves as a team with respect to whatever goals we have is a SWOT analysis. You could potentially go through and look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses, look at your opportunities and your threats, of how you live your life and what habits you do or don't have. And again, reverse engineer that into your VOPA so you set yourself up for success. Going back to, we are at consensus for the most part that motivation, although is a really good thing when you have it, we can't rely on it and it can't be a pillar to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Right, correct.
That's like the theme here.
Yes.
So what do? Like self-assessment, have self-awareness. Self-awareness in knowing who you are and what actions, people, circumstances are going to help you get to where you want to be versus not. There's a huge power in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would just say actionably, here's my strengths, here's my weaknesses, here's my opportunities and threats. And my weaknesses tie into my threats. And I'm telling myself, you know what, if I don't address those two things with whatever this thing is I want to accomplish, the chances of me accomplishing it in the short term are 0 to none. And in the long term, just forget about it.
Okay.
So you tie those two things together. And again, it's just a process. This is working on it.
Right.
That's some place to start.
Love it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Any topics or suggestions you have for us, you should at fitsocietyaz.com. Drop a comment, talk to a coach, grab one of us in the gym, whatever you want to do. If you don't send us anything, then we're not going to talk about anything you want to hear about. So
take that.
take that.
Boom.
Boom. Podcast over.